Good. Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Monday, April 26th, 2021 Zionsville Redevelopment Commission meeting. Call to order the meeting. Before we jump into the agenda, I'd just like to take a moment and recognize the passing of Mike Schaefer, who was the Zionsville Community Schools Chief Financial Officer, but also a member of the community and a critical part of this redevelopment commission. And I've known Mike for several years during my time on the RDC, but Wayne has worked closely with him over the years, and I'd like to ask Wayne to offer a few words. Mike will dearly be missed as part of this team, but the school and also the greater community. So.
Thank you, Sanjay. Yes, Mr. Schaefer was an asset to this body as well as the community at large and the school system. Certainly, we really appreciated his tenor, his thoughtfulness, and his contributions to the Redevelopment Commission, and certainly the other aspects of what we've done, be it with the school arrangement and assistance with Creekside, and just working through the different solutions that we needed to find through the years. And even currently with things that we're working on, and even his contributions in those conversations. Certainly, again, the town appreciates the service that he provided all across the board, and no words can certainly fill the void that we face. But certainly look to the future and embrace those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you have anything?
No, okay.
I'd like to recognize any attendees that would request to be noted online on the Zoom call.
So you have Mrs. Sally Zalonis online.
Okay.
So certainly recognizes Mrs. Zalonis.
Thank you. Okay, great. And then who's in attendance from the RDC? I can't see it on my screen yet.
Colleen Hiddle's on.
Okay. Do we have others on? I mean, three. We have a quorum with three.
Do you see Miss Kate Swanson or Miss Cindy Madrick? Those are two other members. Okay.
This is Colleen. I can't hear if Roger is talking. I heard Wayne, but I didn't hear Roger, just in case you can hear him and I can't. He's on mute.
We'll have to work on that, Colleen. So right now, from the commission, we have myself, Wayne, and Colleen. Is that correct? Okay, great.
Me? It can't.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Okay, so we have a quorum. Let's go ahead and begin, and maybe Cindy and Kay will be able to join us. So let's start with the reports, if you could.
Oh. Certainly, many pieces of this report are items that you've heard previously. Certainly, AES Restaurants on Bennett Parkway. We're actually moving into a pre-development conference here shortly with that project as it moves forward. Certainly, your town hall here, which you're currently within, is experiencing renovation, preparing for its municipal action center, as well as occupancy of additional staff within this on the second floor. Wildwood Designs on 180 South Main Street, commercial remodel. You're well aware of the Ray Hall RLL project there in Creekside. Certainly the project is moving forward now, actually has its full permit has been released. Hotel Tango, certainly their project is well underway, certainly moving through its stages of occupancy and service to the community. And Blackacre Brewing, as we reported last month, still is striving for a spring, summer push forward to the public We'll be looking for another update and hopefully bring that to you next month. Certainly the projects on the list, Appaloosa Crossing, subject of discussion this evening, specific to its bond issuance, but we have several different outlots that are going through various stages of approvals. Creekside Corporate Park, certainly several different projects that are being looked at by several different parties, including talk about the last 10, 11 here as your next agenda item. And certainly the stormwater mitigation project, we still had a meeting just last week with Christopher Burke on that specific topic. And then Community Development Corporation has been very busy as of last year, certainly this year, working on its programmatic methodologies for this year, as well as working on seasonal maintenance, mowing, and recently some snow removal in Creekside. Other than that, that concludes today's report.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Wayne? Thank you for that report, Wayne.
Certainly.
Next on our agenda are minutes for the March 15th special meeting. We will forward that on to next month's agenda. Thank you. And then an update on lots 10 and 11 of Creekside Corporate Park. Wayne, if you can give us an update.
Yes, happy to just bring this topic up for the RDCs. Not so much discussion maybe tonight, more than just to think about that the extension that the organization requested would expire next month, just before your next RDC meeting, and certainly thinking about what you'll be looking to do if there is another request for an extension. We do have the typical strength, I guess you could say, in the current market of about those lots, because they are your biggest lots that are available. And so certainly, again, just a precursor, just preparing you for the discussion next month of if an extension request comes in and what this group would like to do with that.
And have we heard from that group on activity?
There is some strength to the conversations, but I would say every day that goes by is a little less hopeful that we'll see some positivity moving forward out of that conversation.
Great. Well, I would propose that we take no action on it today, and in the event they request an extension in between now and our next meeting, we can host a special meeting if needed, or table it till the following meeting and just keep it on hold. Great, thank you. Great, thank you. Under new business, we have consideration of a resolution pledging Tiff to Appaloosa Crossing EDC bonds. We've had this discussion over several months with our financial consultant and attorneys engaged in providing their analysis and review of the legal documents. Wayne, yield to you for next steps.
Yeah, I have no specific items other than to offer that, yes, you've been working on this for almost a year and a half just to get to this point. So I feel that this group has given plenty of due diligence effort towards this review. Certainly turn to Mr. Christ, who's on the line, if there's any specifics that he would need to speak to related to the bond documents. And then certainly your financial advisors are on the line as well that can speak to any specifics on the financial model.
Okay, this is Brian. I think I finally was able to connect in. I think Heather is also on. Heather Chase, my colleague, is on the line, and she can definitely guide you through the bond documents.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Sorry, it took me a second there. So thank you, Brian. Before you this evening is the TIF pledge resolution that pledges the TIF generated from the parcels where the project is actually located within the 146th Street allocation area to the repayment of the bonds. So as the TIF rolls in semi-annually over the life of the bonds, the bond purchaser, who is also the developer, will be paid back from those TIF revenues. And this is my preferred financing structure because it shifts the risk away from the town and puts the onus on the developer to actually take responsibility for the AV that they expect to generate from the project. And if the AV does not rise to the level that they, as the developer, anticipate, then they, as the bond purchaser, simply won't get the full benefit of their bargain. So we have the resolution before you this evening to consider. You should know that the Economic Development Commission has already adopted their resolution supporting this project, and the town council has introduced a bond ordinance approving the project as well. So assuming you approve the resolution this evening, then we will go back to the council for second reading for them to approve the bond ordinance. And assuming they do that, then we will have a bond sale shortly thereafter, and then a closing about 2 weeks after that.
Great. Thank you, Heather, for that explanation and update.
You are welcome.
Any questions from the RDC, Cindy, Colleen, or Kent, in regards to this proposed resolution number 02?
This is Colleen. So I thought I understood from Heather that this went in front of town council at their last meeting. Was there any relevant discussion or concern that should be shared with our group?
There was not. It was a very quick and easy approval. There were no questions.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions regarding the resolution?
I'll move that the RDC moves forward with resolution number 2 with the Zionsville Redevelopment Commission pledging TIF revenues to Appaloosa Crossing.
Colleen Hiddle, second.
A motion and second. Wayne or Roger, could you do a roll call, please?
I can take care of the roll call.
Thank you.
Mr. Ezra,
Yes.
Mr. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Hiddle,
Yes.
Ms. Matter.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you all. Next on our agenda are 2021 expenses of the Community Development Corporation. We've had a lot of activity over the last 12 months and they've been busy and they've provided a great service to the community. But with that comes some costs. So Wayne, if you can give us some information on the costs and how we've traditionally handled it and what our options may be.
Certainly happy to talk about these items with the Redevelopment Commission. So first and foremost, your Community Development Corporation was formed in 2015, and there's been a great relationship between the town and that separate 501c4 corporation. And honestly, the operating expenses have been rather low for that organization. Certainly over the years, the town has provided legal services out of its own line item for the Redevelopment Commission. The staffing of the Redevelopment Commission has traditionally been the legal staffing for the Community Development Corporation. However, with the work level that is associated with the Community Development Corporation, it is time to find a separate line item, if you will, and have the CDC have its own legal services. They're not quite there yet, simply because their revenue stream is not strong enough to pay for certain additional professional services. Their expenses alone for maintenance of Creekside are about $22,000 or so a year, and they have spent down the reserves that they have. But at any rate, the CDC has always relied upon the services of the town to support them. And so this is just a conversation looking to start for 2021. This is very typical. The CDC has a $850 insurance bill that is annually due for Creekside in terms of liability insurance for the common areas. There's accounting services that can range in about $1,000 range, and that's one of the reasons that's a higher bill than normal is because of the amount of grants and the cash flow that the group has seen from the CDC. When the number gets above $200,000 a year, that does change how the CDC needs to what documents it needs to file with the federal and state officials related to taxation. And certainly another item that's on the Community Development Corporation's radar is to change their own 501c structure. And they look to do this to get into the arena of fundraising so they can have a couple more tools in their toolbox when it comes to revenue stream. All of that heavy lifting does require some community investment to make that happen. Legal fees for that service are about $6,000. And between the legal service for that particular item, some conversations with the microloan and how that tool that was created in 2011 can serve the community in a better format is another conversation point. That's about a $2,000 legal bill to entertain if that's something that the CDC would want to work on. Certainly, again, the $850 insurance bill, and then in there is what the tax professionals, the accountants, to serve the CDC. So in essence, that's about a $10,000 ask, if you will, in support that the CDC could definitely benefit from. And so the discussion this evening is if that's a feasible ask, they can either put that together in a more formal approach and discuss that next month. We can also work with the RDC's attorneys to determine what the best approach would be to work with you all for that type of assistance.
Wayne, is it that we need a line item in the RDC budget for that? Is that what we're?
No, not. I would say no.
Okay.
You have line items for your own professional services.
Okay.
I would say this conversation is really one of transparency.
Okay.
To have an open discussion about this particular group's needs in order to do the good work of the community and do things for the betterment of the community, as their charter says, but doing that without a revenue source. That is the only loan revenue source they have currently is the common area maintenance fees that they collect in Creekside, but they use that to mow the grass and plow the snow and cut down the trees that are hazards, and they'll spend $23,000 a year doing those very things that the Redevelopment Commission is specifically prohibited from doing because they are maintenance tasks. So it's an interesting conversation to have, good challenges to have, but certainly trying to approach this conversation in a very transparent way of how does the CDC get help to help the community to do their work.
Brian, do you have a comment on that at all?
I'm sorry, was that Kent, was that question directed to me?
Yes, please. On how we might transpire that request down the line? Is it something
I think Wayne's summary of kind of where you're at right now is, it's a good summary of where you're at. I think that there are some things working in the mix here in the next couple of months to put the CDC on a firmer footing with respect to managing its own affairs. Some of the professionals at Ice Miller are helping them with some structural things that they can do. So I think for right now, I think Wayne's summary of where you're at is correct.
So when I'm looking at this list of anticipated expenses for 21. We're at $32-ish thousand for their anticipated expenses.
Correct, and they do have a revenue stream of about $17,000 a year that comes in between the common area maintenance fees and yes, so $15,000 from Group 1001. The other tenant, the other owner, DMP Properties pays $2,048 a year and 48 cents in CAM. Certainly the Ray Hall RLL entity will, in the future, will pay, and as well as other entities will pay. But this slower buildup to get to this point has not left the CDC in an optimal spot in terms of serving the community, because there is a gap.
Right. So they are asking for input. They haven't made a formal ask. They're trying to vet through how do they cover their expenses for 21, correct?
Correct. I mean, it's by not engaging the attorneys to do the work to reinvent the 501 process, not engaging attorneys to assist with microloan, that cuts expenses. Certainly, how they choose to pay the premium for the 2021 insurance, that's just a future conversation. We haven't encountered that yet. So there's definitely programmatically choices they can make to not have these expenses, but at the same time, doing the good work that they've been very fortunate to be able to do through the RDC's funding, is something they would like to grow. But in order to grow, there's a barrier with their own corporate structure.
Right. Okay. Well, I would support considering. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just to tag along to what Wayne just said. I mean, the professional services fees that the CDC is going to incur, again, is in the vein of restructuring them and positioning the CDC to where it can be more self-sufficient in the future. So, it's a year one spend this year, but it should, based on our experience with other CDCs and and assisting them in this process, these asks will not, hopefully will not be repeated in the future years because they'll be more self-sustainable.
Right. Correct. Okay.
So Sanjay, I guess my question would be is, the CDC wants to ask us for money?
I think that's what they're doing here. What Wayne is kind of structured on what their expenses are.
Is there, I'm sorry, Sanjay. If we give them money, is there restrictions on how they can spend it?
Certainly, the monies that would be utilized for professional services, accounting, legal, and insurance.
So I guess I would say, why not just have the CDC formally request exactly what they want?
Okay, can certainly do that.
Am I missing something there?
I think that's fine.
No, happy to come back next month with an outline. This was more just, again, these are discussion points for a full group for a full day, another day.
I would just say that the request has to be within the realm of the RDC to fund it.
Sure. Very good.
Agreed. Thank you. Okay. Good discussion. Next on the agenda is discussion regarding claims processing, and Wayne gave a little bit of background in how it happens currently, but if you could for the group provide that information again.
Certainly, in processing of claims in the governmental structure, with most claims, they visit with the town council and are approved in that fashion. In Indiana, predominantly, it's my understanding that redevelopment commission claims, much like Parks Department claims, Park Board claims, are processed by the bodies that oversee that specific entity, such if there's a claim for a parks expense, it is processed by the Parks Board. In Zionsville specifically, if an expense is incurred by the Redevelopment Commission, historically that claim has been processed by the town council. It's always been done that way. No specific reason told to me why it's done that way. No specific reason why it's not done that way. However, in talking with your town's CFO, who also is your treasurer, and the town's attorney staff, it is desired to move the claim process to the Redevelopment Commission for claims that are indeed yours to process. So, for example, the very recent claims that were submitted for review by the town specific to the appraisal services that the RDC looked to engage. Those appeared on the town council's docket for processing and were taken care of. You never saw the bill. You never saw the paperwork. Your treasurer did. This move here, and certainly Tammy Havard can speak to it in greater depth than I can. But again, it focuses on transparency, focuses on clarity, focuses on checks and balances. And so there's no harm to follow this process that almost every other jurisdiction in Indiana that I've been told has a redevelopment commission follows.
I would agree, and I would support the claims being processed and approved through this board.
I would agree.
Okay, all right. So Tammy, next month, I believe we'll be prepared to present information to you on how to move in that direction.
Okay.
So we'll learn more next month.
Okay, great. Next, we have a discussion regarding some new renderings for Creekside Corporate Park specific to lot number 9. And so lot number 9 is the furthest west parcel closest to 106th Street.
Correct.
And Wayne, if you could give some background on the desire or potential need for some additional marketing and sales material for that lot.
Yes, something that staff has been working on is the Zionsville Gateway area. And the Zionsville Gateway area, ultimately, we believe, as staff, will embrace lot number 9. That's within your Creekside Corporate Park. And certainly as a part of that conversation, there will be a mid to late May conversation with with stakeholders in that area that have been contacted previously. This is the check-in moment. And from those conversations, we want to be in a position to, if the project moves forward from that moment, is to be prepared to potentially think about what lot 9 could look like if it were to be improved as part of the gateway conversation. And if that is to be the case, it could serve to be desirable to have some renderings created of what a potential building or improvements could look like as a part of this gateway study. And so, just like every other item on here that we've listed as discussion, this is just a discussion point. Certainly there's no decisions asked or sought this evening, but certainly this is a service that will range between $89,000 to $12,000, we believe, to assist with the efforts in the gateway. As you recall from last year, there was a financial contribution this group agreed to make to that project. That project is moving through its paces. And certainly this is preparing for that second phase. And in this specific case, coming to you well in advance of a request for some financial support. Last time, as you most likely recall, we came to you after the project was already moving in its paces. In this particular case, we're coming to you ahead of time and saying, hey, this is something we'd like to think about coming to the RDC to explore financial support specific to some renderings on lot number 9. Again, this is to give shape to a potential building or buildings that could be there, parking, other type improvements, ultimately to start modeling what the Zionsville Gateway area could look like.
And how far along are they with the conceptual schematics of the gateway?
The gateway conversation is focused on roadway alignment and a mix of uses that could populate that area. There was a public input event back in October of last year. Certainly that input session also included a survey as well as meetings with stakeholders. So there's information gathered, certainly a preference survey in terms of what uses parties would like to see in that specific area. The town is, with all of that information, is laying out what infrastructure would be necessary to facilitate the palette that folks, residents, visitors, everybody who participated in those events articulated. And so what we've done as staff is work with our consultants to synthesize both the economic development information as well as the contextual information, the preferences, and pushing that together. And staff has been laying that out on the road network as it exists today, as well as analyzing what potential choices could be made to change some of that alignment, from maybe bend the road here or move a road over there. And so we look to present that information in mid to late May to the stakeholders and then ultimately push that forward in June. So, I mean, we're well along in the process currently.
I think for me personally, I would like to, learn more about how broad that gateway footprint is to be, and how lot number 9 will engage with that footprint at the overall gateway. I'd imagine the current consultants, probably have some ideas of what lot 9 would look like, and for the gateway purpose, do they have enough information to develop renderings and concepts without this additional fund? And then is the additional fund more for marketing of Creekside? Or, it's a mix of helping with Creekside, obviously, the marketing, but then also enhancing the gateway. And I'd like to have a better idea of what level of detail they're including in their renderings and what level of detail this additional service would provide.
Well, and certainly, and as a part of the outreach to the stakeholders in mid to late May, that would include the redevelopment commission like it did back in October. So those will mesh together very nicely.
Great. So I have quite a few questions. When you say stakeholders, what do you mean?
So stakeholders were identified as the project commenced. And so the stakeholders were any party that owned land within the Zionsville Gateway area or land that was adjacent to the Gateway area. Stakeholders also included public bodies such as the Redevelopment Commission interfacing with Sanjay, certainly town council leadership, plan commission leadership. I don't have the list offhand, but I can tell you that even a residential property owner to the south of the boundary of the gateway was contacted as an interested party. So the stakeholder list is inclusive of anybody who's in the gateway as well as parties that were adjacent.
So I guess my next question would be who is the lead on this? Is it in your office then, this project, the Gateway project?
Well, the project is being led by, I would call it an executive committee, certainly comprised of the mayor, deputy mayor, our office, DPW, Amanda Vela participates in those conversations as well. So the town staff does not have one specific person over the study, if you will. There's an executive committee, if you will, that leads actually two consultants. There is no prime sub relationship. It's two separate contracts with two separate consultants who are working through the efforts and implementing the vision that's been created by the public.
So I was here at the event when it was in this room right here, and I mean I think the Gateway is a good idea, although I will say that I'm still not clear about exactly where we are. I mean, I think to ask the RDC, and I know it's not necessarily an ask at this point, for money for a project where I really don't know where it is. My understanding is it's very much on the beginning, right?
Well, no, the project itself, we are in mid to late May, we'll be presenting information to the stakeholders to have the stakeholders validate, is this the direction that was articulated that you heard, and to basically do a double check on the information before it hits to the public in June as to illustrate the findings and talk about next steps.
Okay, so let's say you present it to the stakeholders in May and they all vote, they think it's great, they want to do it, then what happens?
There'd be a public outreach meeting in June, or certainly shortly thereafterwards, to present all the information to the public, just like you did with the original the original process in October.
The entire project, the Gateway project, is sitting in the TIF, right?
Correct, it is.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm not completely clear on what the Gateway project is. I mean, I know what it is, but I'm just not sure of where it is and who's in charge. And so I guess if the RDC is going to present money, which, I'm sure we can, is it not right for us to ask for somebody to come from the executive committee or whoever's in charge of this and talk to us about it?
No, that's fine. No, it's fine. In fact, in May is when the group will be interfacing with stakeholders. And Sanjay, you participated in the last round of conversations. That's correct?
So I did not know that, so I apologize.
No, that's fine. No, there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah.
But certainly the stakeholders were outreach to collect information and also interface with the project. And certainly that publicly gathered information from October, we look to, as a town, as staff, we look to present all those findings here in May to the stakeholders, and then in June, or I don't want to overpromise that June,
right,
that COVID's been a little tricky.
Yeah.
but certainly following up after that, certainly in the summer, presenting the findings.
I guess, you know, if there was an overall plan that was sitting here and said, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe I would feel a little bit better. I just think that worrying about renderings for lot 9 at this point in that project seems a little cart before the horse.
Well, certainly as staff, took the message last time when we came a little too late and presented the request. This time, maybe I'm a little too early and certainly we, as you know, we're just working to outlay opportunities and lay out
Right.
discussion and road network to get where we think we're going.
Ultimately, what I'm saying here is that we provided money last time when it was asked for, but no one had ever really said anything about the Gateway project. And I know you know, this is not necessarily an ask now, but yet still no one has really come forward to the RDC, whoever's in charge of the Gateway project, and said, hey, this is what we're going to do.
Right, and that's going to be a result of the May outreach, and so because it's not the town drawing up the plan and saying this is what we're going to do. The Gateway project is a result of the public saying this is what we want done, and then so maybe that's where staff is working towards that moment where we believe we will have in the middle, by the end of May, June, we will have that direction from the public as to what the public wants done. And so I'm personally working on the road network to get to the next steps where if these ideas come to fruition, we are going to need to be prepared to execute. And that execution is going to require dollars, and those dollars need to come from somewhere. And part of this Gateway project could involve lot 9, and lot 9 could provide that footprint. And in order to do that, we want to be prepared to have that conversation.
Okay.
I think what would be beneficial, Wayne, is just with RDC group to have an understanding of what this Gateway project is. If there's an executive summary of steps or anticipated final deliverable, I think that would set the stage really well for the Redevelopment Commission to understand the process, the end goal of what this study is going to provide. You know, it's not going to provide a final design. It's just a plan. And I think if you have a one-pager, or if you can have the consultant kind of streamline of, here's a process, these are the steps, this is what our end goal is, I think that would help us. And then maybe in the May meeting, they may have had their stakeholder meeting. And if they have, they can come to the RDC meeting and present what they did at the stakeholder meeting, just for a quick 5-minute session.
Oh, makes sense. Sound good. Okay.
Would that be helpful?
That would be more than helpful. Yeah. I mean, I still have quite a few questions about what exactly that we're doing.
Right, but that's my goal of a cheat sheet and then a presentation.
Yeah.
Sure, certainly.
Good. Thank you. Any questions from Colleen or Cindy in regards to the Gateway project?
Not at this time. It sounds like there's more background and information to come. So thank you for the discussion.
Great,
Yep.
thank you.
Agree completely.
Wayne, do you have any other business to cover tonight?
Not that I'm aware of.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second. We're adjourned.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
So we
Thank
get
you.
to the-
Thank
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.